thing feels like it is growing. What did you think about the interview from the jail?
Yeah.
Can we take it seriously?
Here's the thing. Obviously, she has an incentive to say what she's saying. She's looking at 30 years. She's very involved with this. The danger for the people she's talking about, Waltz, Fry, Ellison, and others, is the fact that she can serve as a pointer. Whether we choose to believe her or not, it comes down to, will a grand jury, or ultimately, if it goes to trial, a petit jury, a jury of her peers, 12 people, potentially believing her testimony relative to these other people. But when you have somebody like this that was on the inside, we always called it in intelligence a pointer. She's there to tell you, as you go through a mountain of emails, a mountain of communications, which we know they serve subpoenas to get, those subpoenas for documents.
Remember that church incident on Sunday in Minneapolis? The AG Pam Bondi posted this, all right? I'm reading now. Minutes ago, at my direction, HSI and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we've arrested okay, we'll come back to that. So far, we have arrested Nikema Levy Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship, end quote. I want you to react to that, Paul. But on Monday, Trish McLaughlin was on with Dana and me. And part of her answer said, I think we will be seeing mugshots very soon. She was tipping her hand that arrests were on the way, and this is the first one that's been made.
Yeah, and, look, there's going to be very, very little that they can do in defense of this because it's on film, and for once, they didn't cover their faces. Now, here is the thing that's going to come out of this. You have her under arrest. Now you're going to get the communications. And this is where it starts to spider web out. You start to see who was talking to who showed up in regard, including Don Lemon. How much did they all know going in? That imports things like conspiracy charges, which can be quite heavy. There's criminal civil rights charges that are implicated in the church incident.
This is also because one of the things that we found out about that was that they were targeting them because they were privileged white supremacists.
We talked about that earlier in the week. Not only did that come out in the video and that they said something like that in the church, but then after the fact, Lemon talks about exactly that.
That is huge. Not only did they attack a church by barging in during Sunday service, but they admitted that they attacked these people specifically based on their racial identity. And according to their mob and to their cult, everyone who's white is a white supremacist due to the fact that the people who are calling them white supremacists have an extremely strong inferiority complex. So compared to themselves, they see anyone who's white as supreme. Even if you're a gay white person, but you're virtue signaling that you hate these straight, Christian church-going white people, you're still supreme in the eyes of the mob that you are supporting as well. So you can't just target. I mean, they admit that they are targeting a group based on their racial identity, based on their religious beliefs. So many crimes are broken. So many laws are broken. So many norms are gone. But again, for the J6ers that were persecuted and political prisoners for years over exaggerated trespassing charges, the hammer and the book needs to be dropped on these people that were arrested. I don't care that they're black or they're gay. And the white guy, you can tell he's not all there mentally. He has a lot of anger issues, but it's nothing can justify the fact that they attacked a church during their service. They would have never done this at a black church. They would have never attacked a synagogue. They would have never attacked a mosque. They went to the peaceful, they targeted the people that they know out of all churches would be the most tolerant, the most peaceful, and that they could use words like racism and white supremacy to kind of muddy the waters where they might be able to obfuscate being arrested. Luckily, we have a pragmatic and grounded administration right now who's going to make sure they are all held to account. So I want to actually show this. Let's go ahead. First things first, I want to arrest every lesbian in the St. Paul, the Tri-City, what is it called? The Twin Cities. Every lesbian should be arrested in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area. For one thing, if you notice, there's a pattern. There's something going on with the lesbian. There seems to be a disproportionate group of them who are agitators, who are domestic terrorists. Famously, thus far, Renee Good and her, the Ellen DeGeneres looking chick, they were a couple of lesbians who were training to fight ICE. And I'm not talking about by using salt or a flamethrower, but fight the immigration and customs enforcement. So essentially fight law enforcement. And magically, look, another lesbian. I'm starting to see a pattern here. There's starting to be a pattern. I think we might need to go ahead and start profiling to see where their political leanings are and how close to the edge these people are to jumping off. Do you know how big of a deal that is to walk into a church service? How do you, I mean, you know, we all grew up here in the United States, right? A lot of us are Americans. I've never seen that before. I've seen the toughest, most dangerous gangbangers and mobsters literally walk into a place of worship with respect. These people are a completely different lot. All normalcy bias must go out the window. And people keep telling me, well, Rico, you can't profile people. Well, then how are we gonna go after immigrants if we can't profile? If we can't base it off of your appearance and your accent, then what are we gonna base it off of? That's all we can do. Right now, I'm seeing a pattern of lesbians and extremism. And I think it's because they still somewhere deep down in their psyche, they still see themselves as women, and women are very limited circumstances are women ever held to account. So I think they assume they can get away with more. But now that women are equal, I think we have to start showing them true equality. And that comes with prosecutions as well. We can't just spare you because of your chromosome. It's not like you're a woman who has children who is, who needs protecting. You're a woman cosplaying as a man who is dangerous. So I'm seeing this pattern. I like it. I want to see more lesbians arrested. Oh, they put a little beanie on the lesbian. That's cute.
David Easterwood is the director for the field office of ICE in St. Paul. Mm-hmm. He also served as a pastor right here at City's Church.
Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good.
How can you be a pastor?
That's right.
Of a church, but overseeing ICE agents in the field?
Very, very easy. For one thing, in the Bible, even the laws are respected. Jesus even spoke to respect the laws of the Romans. You cannot create your own rules and then try to use people's religious beliefs against them so that you can be protected from being held accountable. That's not going to work. That is actually some of the lowest level reverse psychology. And the fact that we've humored it the past few years, they really thought that would get them out of accountability today. It's not going to work. These people are domestic terrorists. They're literally invoking fear against innocent people for the purpose of pushing their political agenda. That is the definition of terrorism. Not stoic, but that's actually the definition of terrorism. These people know they cannot be allowed to continue with this or get away with it. And I'm glad to see them in cuffs and being arrested. Let's see what let's see what they say on Fox now.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is 10:48 on the East Coast and 7:48 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I do want to get you to some breaking news that we are following here at this hour. Take a look as Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced 2 arrests in the wake of a protest that interrupted a church service in St. Paul over the weekend. Bondi initially posted this right here on social media saying, minutes ago, at my direction, Homeland Security and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we have arrested Nakima Levi Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship.
So they got the first two lesbians. Now I want to see where William was arrested. Where is William? Is this William? Is he? Let's see. 3 hours ago. Let's see.
Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. Go. Leave. Don't ever come back. We are community members, and you guys are paid agitators. You guys are coming here and destroying our community. I can't even get fucking tacos right now for the game. I can't even get tacos, and it's bigger than that.
100%. That guy is not from this community. He was actually imported as a paid protester / agitator. We are following the leads, and we are figuring out where the money is coming from to fund these agitators that have descended on the Twin Cities as of the last week or two.
That just goes to show how serious this shit is. I'm not even eating. I'm not going to the gym right now. I'm here. I'm here for my fucking community. I'm here every fucking day. And you will see me every fucking day. I don't know how to properly ask for help to get into a place, huh? But when we go to the top, yeah, you fucking dumbass.
If your loved one and your family members are criminals, they will be arrested. So you can stand out here with your whistles and scream all you want. The mission must continue. We will not protect you or allow you to continue just because we're afraid of your whistle. That's not how it works. There's never been a protest in America where people said, you know what, those people that we were going to arrest, we're going to just let them go back to just committing crimes because we're afraid of the backlash. No, that has never happened. Let's see if his guy, is he here?
They've just arrested Nakima Armstrong for our protest on Sunday. You know, my lawyers tell me they have no case. This use of the FACE Act and the KKK Act is complete. But let's be honest, they don't care. They don't believe in the rule of law. They're fascists. They're now going after the Clintons for the Epstein files. What the God damn it, people. When will you stop acting like everything's normal and going about your days? Get in the streets now. It's time to shut this country down.
No. For one thing, I have work to do. I have a life. I have responsibilities. I am an American, a functioning adult. I will not get into the streets for no actual reason. If I'm living in a country, and I've lived in a few countries, I've lived in probably 7 different countries. If I was ever in a nation and I turned on the TV one day and I decided that the laws of that nation, the laws of the country, went in disagreement with my worldview and my political ideology, I left the country. I didn't stay there to complain and pick a fight with law enforcement to stay in a country that I don't agree with. I left. He should have done the same. I say that with a lot of people. I'm like, why would you rather go sit in prison instead of just finding a new home? But that just shows you these people say how much they hate America, but they really love it so much that they'd rather rot in a jail in the United States than live free abroad outside of our borders. They couldn't even survive outside the country, honestly. So no, we will not be joining you in the streets to protest against our laws. Trump didn't make these laws. These laws are not new. These are our existing laws for immigration. They must be respected. They must be enforced. We are a nation of order. People like this man have no wives. They have no children. They have no future. The lesbians that they've arrested have no children. They have nothing invested in tomorrow. They want to see chaos because they already they're already suicidal, but they don't want to die alone. So they're looking for company. We're just not going to join them.
We are at fascism. The republic has fallen. Please, Americans, please stand up for something. Do not be the same as those in 1930s Germany, because right now that's exactly what you're all doing. Please wake the fuck up.
That was the very last video that William Kelly posted on TikTok before he got arrested. Now, before we get into the arrest, it's very clear he saw the writing on the wall. Number one, he would not have met with his lawyers if he wasn't concerned. And number two, he wouldn't have followed their advice. They clearly gave him advice, which gives us a sneak peek, a preview into what their defense for him will be when this goes to court. So he sneakily, discreetly updated his GoFundMe, which unfortunately is still up. But originally it said, "Help me scold the Gestapo and hunt Nazis." Well, as you can see, he rewrote that to say, "Help me practice my First Amendment rights." I doubt that he updated that on his own. It's probably an update from his lawyers. And, they want to focus on First Amendment rights because,
it's actually crazy. I was having a conversation the other day where somebody was saying, this is just like Nazi Germany. And I was like, well, what are the similarities? He's like, well, you guys have police and they're going around and arresting people. I was like, so you mean to tell me any country on earth that has law enforcement that will physically go and arrest someone who breaks the law, that's akin to Nazi Germany, because the Germans also had law enforcement and people that would arrest you if you break the law? And in that case, then every country is the same as Nazi Germany. There's nothing special or unique about Nazi Germany. So to keep bringing it up makes no sense. And this was a man that I know from the US that's actually in Thailand right now. And I was like, so what are you telling me, that the Thai don't have police and they don't have laws, they don't have jails? Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, okay, so then what, if arresting people is what the Nazis did, and you're saying that they arrest people in Thailand, how are you saying that America is like the Nazis, but not the Thai? Well, yeah, the Thai, they're like the Nazis too. And I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is that the only cure to Nazism is to dissolve all laws and enforcement of all laws, to be that way you're the opposite of the Germans from the 30s. That's your end game. And then that's when you realize a lot of these people, they're not very bright. See, intellect requires at least some level of self-awareness, but also foresight. And these people lack that. They cannot think ahead. And they have this extremely strange main character syndrome also that they're battling with.
that clearly is going to be their defense in court. It's really interesting that he decided to be more combative and more defiant after Nikita Armstrong was arrested. You would have thought that he would have gone dark or at least been more conciliatory, but instead he's literally inciting an insurrection. He's asking people to take to the streets to fight back against the government, to shut the country down. And that's what he said in that video right there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you don't have anything invested in this country, shutting it down sounds like a great idea because you have nothing to lose. The rest of us actually have lives, and we really love our country. We love the system. You can't love the country but want also to see it shut all the way down. People like myself, we fought during the scamdemic because we wanted the country to reopen. Men like him wanted it to stay closed forever. Just like those lesbian black women, they want communism. They're trained Marxists. They want everyone to be equally poor because they feel that the rest of us who have families and work, we look down upon them. It all reverts back to some sick inferiority complex, and they're looking for any excuse they can to try to dismantle things. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to happen. We are resisting it, and we know better. So
Renee good. Renee good. Renee good. Renee good.
How can you be a pastor
That's right.
of a church, but overseeing ICE agents in the field?
ICE has nothing to do with religion. ICE is law enforcement. But you got to think about it. Before they were targeting ICE, they were targeting our regular law enforcement, calling them racist, saying that arresting black people, even if they're a murderer, is a crime. You shouldn't arrest black people. This same woman says that if a black person is a pedophile who harms children, they should not be arrested. If you speak to any of these people directly and you ask, give me a circumstance where you think deadly force would be okay against a criminal who's black, and they would say there's no such instance. See, you have to talk to these people and ask the tough questions. There's nothing that they think that a black person should ever be arrested for. No matter what crime they commit, no matter who they hurt, no matter what they do, they deserve complete immunity from being arrested or from law enforcement. And they're going to quote, they're going to say, oh, well, because of slavery and oppression, that's why black people commit these heinous, violent crimes, and they should be allowed to do so. They should be allowed to steal. They should be allowed to rape. They should be allowed to harm children because of slavery. You got to understand when you're being fed information like this, you got to look at the person who's holding the spoon. This is their worldview and their ideology. So they're fighting for something that would never be attained unless the rest of us are wiped out. So now it's an existential threat, and it comes down to, well, we can't coexist. So it's either us or you. I'm sorry, but I have things to do next week, so I'm going to pick us.
We know that ICE agents just killed Renee Good. We know that they shot a Venezuelan nationalist. We know that they almost killed a 6-month-old baby in North Minneapolis.
That part.
As well.
No, and that's not true. Actually, I'm going to do a story about that later tonight. Those parents abandoned those kids in a car so that they could join the protest. And we actually have the pictures of the parents at the protest, but there's no children in tow. They left their children in the car. Now, obviously, we can look at the results from the community to see that there is a history of not being good parents. So we can't say that that's just out of the question. We literally have the evidence. But here they were trying to shame the public into getting the city of Minneapolis to approve a settlement for them because they're saying their baby choked on tear gas. When really your neglect of the baby, your neglect of the child is what put the child in harm's way. You should be arrested for it. It's just really difficult in these cities because Trump has not enacted the Insurrection Act. So we can't just take over the law enforcement and go after individuals. We're only there as the Fed. This city, like I said, this is going to be an example for the rest of the country. If we allow this to continue here the way it's going, and we don't drop the hammer, then these other states, these other nations, these other countries, these other cities are going to have copycat agitators that are going to be inspired to go against our government and to literally make their best efforts to pull apart and dismantle our cities with the help of the local mayor and the governor, which is the same thing that's happening in Minnesota. We must stop this here. We have ultimate federal supremacy. We've never had to use it before, not in recent memory, but we're going to have to break all normalcy biases and do it now.
As terrorized their whole family of 6, had to send 3 of their children to the hospital, 2 of which had asthma, as they fired tear gas and flashbang grenades at the cars of innocent people. We know that they drag people out of their cars, out of their homes. They drag pregnant women.
It doesn't matter. If you're running afoul of the law, you will be dragged out of your vehicle if you don't comply when we ask you to exit. That's normal. There's nothing unique or special about this situation. For the most part, these people just want to be paid, but now they're being arrested, which is even better than paying them.
Harboring evil, unacceptable, and
And they're doing all this performance in front of non-hostile, non-aggressive white churchgoers. And they literally chose their targets wisely. They knew not to do this to any other group in our nation because there would be consequences, immediate consequences. These consequences are a little bit different.
I want everyone in jail. I want all of them arrested.
You are a fake Christian.
This is the red line, and they've crossed it.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful.
Don Lemon lectured half of the parishioners about how they really had an obligation to sit there and fucking take it.
These are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on.
Some people are too dumb to be allowed to do the news.
There's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
He's too dumb and doesn't know shit about the law or the U.S. Constitution.
People here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable.
Has no fucking clue what he is saying to that pastor there. You're going to learn the hard way, sir, how wrong you are.
Look, hugging this kid. I just imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. That's what protesting is about.
Now, what people keep asking me is, Rico, what about Don Lemon? That's what my next episode is about. I'll have my co-host explain that to you. So, Arthur, talk to me about why Don Lemon is not arrested right now. And was he saved by the magistrate? And how is it the magistrate's authority over a judge to decide that somebody who is being accused of a crime should not be arrested? Play this out for us, please.
Sure, Rico. Don Lemon isn't arrested because in federal cases, prosecutors need a judge's approval before charges and arrests. The magistrate, who's a lower-level judge, reviewed the evidence and said no probable cause. That means prosecutors didn't show enough to justify moving forward. It's not about saving anyone, it's just a constitutional safeguard. In short, magistrates ensure no one's arrested on weak accusations. If prosecutors later meet the legal bar, charges can still come. It's the system working as intended.
Okay, so what's going to need to happen for Don Lemon to be arrested? What do we need to do? Was it because the magistrate just purposely decided not to examine the evidence because they have a political bias, and we're going to need someone from a higher court to come in and give us the warrant for his arrest? What steps need to be taken so that we can make sure Mr. Don Lemon is arrested?
For any arrest, it's not about political bias, it's about evidence. Prosecutors would need to present new or stronger evidence that Lemon knowingly conspired to commit a crime. This could be direct communications, explicit planning, or actions showing intent. The magistrate didn't dismiss the evidence, rather they found it didn't meet the legal threshold for probable cause. If the DOJ wants to pursue charges, they can appeal or present additional proof to the same or a higher court. Ultimately, no one is arrested until solid evidence supports probable cause.
Now, I don't know if you can look this up yourself, but we saw the videos where he said he was invited to this location. He knew they were going into this church during the service. He talks to the parishioners and lets them know that they're there to make them uncomfortable specifically. And they mentioned that these people are white. How can somebody look at that evidence that's on video and say, oh, there's no evidence here? I think that shows a political bias by the magistrate. And I need to know who above that magistrate can push him out of the way and actually bring charges against Don Lemon.
I understand your frustration, but even if video shows someone participating or speaking at a protest, prosecutors must prove criminal intent and specific illegal acts. Just making people uncomfortable or mentioning race isn't necessarily a crime. The magistrate isn't the final word. If prosecutors believe they have a stronger case, they can appeal to a district judge. Ultimately, the system requires probable cause of a crime, not just controversial speech, before charges or arrest.
You know what, Arthur, you're my co-host, but this is where me and you, we disagree and we get into it, because you're not having the same type of energy or the same type of requirements that it came for justifying what happened on J6. There were people in the media that were arrested for just trespassing in a building that's actually open to the public. They went above and beyond on January 6th. Those same standards should be applied here now. No one, even those people were on video and they weren't committing a crime yet, they were prosecuted and some were spent years in jail. This invasion, this attack on this church, in my opinion, should be treated the same. Do you not see where the parallels this run for January 6th to this church incident?
I hear your perspective. People want consistency in how the law is applied. That said, each case still hinges on specific charges. On January 6th, many were charged with crimes like obstructing Congress or violence. If anyone at the church incident had evidence of committing a federal crime, prosecutors can pursue that. But frustration aside, the law still requires clear probable cause. If you believe there's a gap, public pressure or scrutiny can push the system to act, but it still has to follow due process.
Absolutely. There is due process that needs to be brought, that has to be followed. Can you see where this will fall under the FACE Act or the Ku Klux Klan Act?
It's possible the FACE Act, focused on protecting access to places of worship, could be considered if there was intentional interference with worship. The Ku Klux Klan Act, historically addressing conspiracies to deprive civil rights, could also be invoked if there was evidence of a conspiracy to deprive others of their rights. In either case, prosecutors would need to prove those elements clearly, intent, coordination, and rights violations, before charges could apply.
Well, 3 of the people that stormed the church have been arrested, so they were able to prove it with them. My problem is John Lemon was in their ranks and he knew what they were doing, and he was proud to be a participant, not just an unbiased reporter. Why is he not being arrested and held to account, but these other members of his group were from that day?
The key difference likely lies in the specific actions and evidence tied to each individual. Those arrested may have been directly involved in leading the disruption, entering the sanctuary, stopping the service, or giving directives. Being present or making statements alone isn't always enough for criminal charges. Prosecutors must demonstrate a clear, intentional act of unlawful conduct. If they didn't find enough to show Lemon crossed that line, that's why he wasn't charged. If new evidence emerges, charges could still come. But the law requires specificity, not guilt by association.
You know what? Again, you're a good co-host, and that's this is where we differ in opinion. I do believe Lemon is going to be arrested eventually. This first magistrate, in my opinion, just had a political bias, and he was probably a liberal magistrate. He's lower level for a reason, but a higher district judge is going to give us what we need. They're going to examine the evidence, and they're going to allow us to issue a warrant for the arrest of Lemon, and he is going to have to be held as long as possible, because we have to make an example. There cannot be any double standards. This was akin to J6, in my opinion. The fact that they went there purposely to disrupt a service and for a political motive, and it was also motivated by the race of the parishioners they wish to make uncomfortable, puts us in civil rights territory. So this does fit the description of the Klan Act and the FACE Act. So I want to see results. Thank you so much, Arthur, for your input. Look, we are going to make sure we stay on top of this. We're not going to let them get away with storming our churches and targeting people based on their religion or race.
Had a bunch of snow.
That is just completely unacceptable. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers on all these different channels. We just became monetized, so I appreciate all you guys tuning in and watching. We're going to be back shortly with another video in about 20 minutes. So make sure you come back and hit the notification button. I'll see you guys again shortly. Remember, America first and America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.